Fedora's Feather and the Silent King. Once upon a time, in a kingdom shrouded in perpetual twilight, there lived a young girl named Fedora. The kingdom, known as Umbra, was a land of muted colors and soft shadows, where the sun never fully rose and the moon never fully set. The people of Umbra lived in quiet harmony, their lives guided by the gentle glow of lanterns and the soothing songs of nightingales. But there was one thing that cast a shadow over the kingdom: the Silent King. The Silent King, whose name was whispered with reverence and sorrow, had not spoken a word in decades. Once a wise and just ruler, he had fallen into a deep melancholy after the loss of his beloved queen. His silence was not one of anger or cruelty, but of profound grief. The kingdom, though peaceful, felt the weight of his sorrow, and the people longed for the day when their king would speak again. Fedora, a kind-hearted and curious girl, lived with her father in a small cottage on the edge of the kingdom. Her father was a lantern maker, crafting intricate lanterns that lit the homes and streets of Umbra. Fedora often helped him, her fingers deftly weaving delicate patterns into the metal frames. But her true passion was the nightingales. She spent hours in the forest, listening to their songs and watching them flit among the trees. Among the nightingales, there was one that stood out, a bird with feathers of shimmering silver, its song more beautiful than any other. One evening, as Fedora sat by the forest's edge, the silver nightingale landed on her shoulder. Its song was soft and mournful, and Fedora felt a deep sadness in her heart. She reached out to gently stroke its feathers, and as she did, the bird spoke. "Fedora," it said, its voice melodic and haunting, "the Silent King's sorrow is not just his own. It is a shadow that hangs over all of Umbra. If he does not find his voice, the kingdom will fade into eternal silence." Fedora's eyes widened in surprise. "What can I do?" she asked. The nightingale plucked a single silver feather from its wing and placed it in her hand. "Take this feather to the king. It holds the power to break his silence, but only if you can find the words to awaken his heart." Fedora clutched the feather tightly, her mind racing. She had never spoken to the king before, let alone entered the grand castle that loomed over the kingdom. But she knew she had to try. She bid the nightingale farewell and set off toward the castle, the feather glowing softly in her hand. The journey to the castle was long and winding, the path lit by the faint glow of lanterns. As she walked, Fedora thought of the stories she had heard about the Silent King. He had once been a man of great wisdom and compassion, his voice a source of comfort and guidance for his people. But after the queen's death, he had retreated into himself, his silence becoming a wall that no one could breach. When she reached the castle, the guards, recognizing the feather's glow, allowed her to pass. She was led through grand halls adorned with tapestries and lanterns, their light casting flickering shadows on the walls. Finally, she was brought before the king. The Silent King sat on his throne, his face lined with sorrow, his eyes distant. Fedora approached him, her heart pounding. She held out the feather, its silver light illuminating the room. "Your Majesty," she said softly, "I bring you a gift from the nightingales. They sing for you as they have always sung, but their songs are filled with sadness. They wish for you to find your voice again, not just for yourself, but for all of Umbra." The king's eyes flickered with something. Curiosity, perhaps, or hope. He reached out and took the feather, his fingers trembling. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the feather began to glow brighter, its light spreading through the room. Fedora took a deep breath and began to speak. She told the king of the people of Umbra, of their quiet strength and their unwavering loyalty. She spoke of the beauty of the kingdom, of the lanterns that lit the streets and the nightingales that sang in the forest. And she spoke of his queen, of the love they had shared and the legacy she had left behind. "Your sorrow is great," she said, her voice steady and gentle. "But it is not the end of your story. The kingdom needs you not just as a ruler, but as a voice of hope. The nightingales sing for you, and the people wait for you. Please, Your Majesty, find your voice again." As she spoke, the feather's light grew brighter, filling the room with a warm, silver glow. The king's eyes filled with tears, and he opened his mouth as if to speak, but no sound came out. Fedora's heart sank, but she did not give up. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, intricately crafted lantern. It was one she had made herself, its frame adorned with the image of a nightingale. She lit the lantern and placed it at the king's feet. "This lantern is a symbol of the light you brought to Umbra," she said. "It is a reminder that even in the darkest times, there is always hope. Please, Your Majesty, let your light shine again." For a long moment, there was silence. Then, slowly, the king rose from his throne. He looked at Fedora, his eyes filled with gratitude and resolve. And then, in a voice that was soft but steady, he spoke. "Thank you," he said. The sound of his voice was like a ripple in a still pond, spreading through the room and beyond. The lanterns in the castle flickered and brightened, their light chasing away the shadows. Outside, the nightingales began to sing, their songs filled with joy and hope. Fedora smiled, her heart swelling with relief and pride. She had done it. She had helped the silent king find his voice again. In the days that followed, the kingdom of Umbra began to change. The king, his voice growing stronger with each passing day, began to rule with the wisdom and compassion he had once shown. The people, inspired by his return, worked together to bring new life to the kingdom. Lanterns were hung in every corner, their light brighter than ever, and the nightingales' songs filled the air with hope and joy. Fedora returned to her cottage, her heart full. She continued to help her father with his lantern making, but she also spent more time in the forest, listening to the nightingales and watching them dance among the trees. The silver nightingale, its feather now a part of the king's crown, would often visit her, its song a reminder of the power of hope and the strength of the human spirit. And so, the kingdom of Umbra flourished, its light a beacon of hope in the twilight. The silent king, once lost in sorrow, became a voice of guidance and inspiration. And Fedora, the girl who had helped him find his voice, became a legend in her own right. Her story was passed down through generations, a reminder that even in the darkest times, there is always a way to bring light back into the world. The end.